Hey, Deb. So let's talk Mississippi State recruiting. Signing class. Yesterday was big. They get the official public commitment from Stonka Burnside, the Under Armour All-America game. Think that they had known that was coming, and everybody knows now that is part. Mississippi State needed to reload at the wide receiver position, and they have done that.
Yeah, I mean, they needed not just the wide receiver position. They need playmakers, be it at running back, be it at receiver, be it at quarterback, whatever. This offense last year, to say it was bad is understating it by a lot. I mean, it was horrific. They averaged 21 points per game, and they had that stretch in the middle of the season when Rodgers was hurt when they scored 7, 13, 3. And, I mean, they technically scored 10 against Texas A&M, but that was on a kickoff return was the touchdown. So they have to get a lot of players. And so Burnside, Craver, the other kid who was at the All-American game yesterday with him, J.J. Harrell from North Panola, these are guys who are going to have opportunities day one if they come in and practice and have the right mentality to be contributors right off the bat for Mississippi State. We talked yesterday about Ole Miss and Mississippi State and how can State model itself after Kiffin's year one. Well, Kiffin had Elijah Moore, and maybe we didn't know who Elijah Moore was at that point. We certainly didn't know he was going to have the kind of season he had, but I would tell you that, looking at State's current receiving core, there's not a player there that reminds me of Elijah Moore. So they have to bring in some guys like that. They brought in the freshman. They brought in the receiver from UTEP, Kelly Akari, to have an opportunity to play there. And they're still continuing that with the receiver they had on campus. I think he's still on campus, Kevin Coleman from Louisville. They're trying to continue to upgrade the position there. If you want to score points, if you want to have this explosive offense that Jeff Lebby's known for, you got to have players. So I don't think their efforts are done on the offensive side of the ball, at least as far as the transfer portal goes.
So the high school class is done, or basically done at this point.
Unless something crops up like last year with Jonathan Davis, which, of course, is kind of funny. He's in the portal now. But unless that happens, yeah, they're probably done with high school. So it's all about the portal. They're bringing in, I think, close to 15 players this weekend, a bunch of defensive guys. Excuse me. But a few offensive guys as well. They're still working very hard to try to get the commitment from Dante Dowdle, the running back who's transferring from Oregon, originally from Picayune. That a lot of people, myself and Robbie Falk included, predicted how that was going to go, that he'd go to Oregon, spend a year there, and then hit the portal, and then you were hoping that he had done enough good coming in second with him that he would come back. He visited State a couple weekends ago, but is still taking visits at this time. So we'll see how that turns out for Mississippi State. They need to get another running back because it doesn't look like they're going to get Daniel Hill. And then, like I said, a couple of receivers coming in, offensive linemen still coming in. And then, I think State might look after the spring window for another quarterback. Not in terms of finding a starter, but just trying to find another guy to bring into that room. Because right now you have Chapin, you have Parson, and then you have Van Buren coming in, the true freshman. But that's all you've got on scholarship right now. So they could go for another guy there. But defense is definitely the focus right now for Mississippi State. They're bringing in linebackers, defensive linemen, corners, safeties. They got playing time to offer. They got spots in two deep to offer up, and so we'll see how many people they can bring in.
I feel like this is a question that doesn't have a singular answer. I mean, I was going to say, of those position groups on the defensive side, what's most important? Is it replacing Bookie Watson and Jet Johnson at linebacker, or is it filling holes on the defensive line, or is it the back end of the defense, or is the answer simply all of the above?
Yes, the answer is yes. I think the most important position, where State was lacking last year, was pass rush. I mean, Buki led the team in sacks from an inside linebacker position. He led the SEC in sacks.
Yeah.
They didn't have any pass rush from the outside, and now they're moving to more of a 3-4 kind of defense, or maybe a 4-2-5. But regardless, they got to have guys who can get after the quarterback. And so far, they haven't really brought any of those kind of guys in. And those are guys that, as you know, they command a premium, probably right after quarterbacks in terms of NIL deals. So State hasn't had any of those guys come onto campus yet. They need to find somebody like that they can trust to rush the passer. They need another cornerback. They probably need a safety. They probably need a couple of defensive linemen. Linebacker, this weekend, Stone Blanton, the transfer from South Carolina, the former MRA product, is on campus. Everybody believes he'll commit to Mississippi State at the end of that visit. So that's one spot filled. You need to find somebody else, though. You got, like you said, you got to find somebody. I believe that's going to be football only. I don't think he's going to continue his baseball career. And so, yeah.
Which he had not done in South Carolina, right? It was football only in South Carolina. Yeah.
Correct. So they just have spots to fill. They have a lot of guys, and they need – I fully expect them to sign another 10, 12, 13 guys in this next few weeks.
It's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done when a lot of teams are trying to do the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Do you overall?
Yeah, it is. And go ahead.
Do you give Jeff Lebby and his staff overall pretty good marks for what they've done on the recruiting front in a relatively short period of time?
When we think about where that class was when Lebby took over, and Stonka had decommitted back in early November, and I mean, let's just be honest, prior to the hiring of Jeff Lebby, Stonka Burnside was going to Ole Miss. That was happening, and Lebby was able to turn the tide in that recruitment. He's able to keep Mario Craver interested and then get him committed. Flipping Michael Van Buren from Oregon. I mean, if you watched that game yesterday, I know it's a high school all-star game. You can't take too much away from it, but he looked really good. He looks like a very exciting athlete. And even one battle I think they're going to lose, Richard, Daniel Hill, he wouldn't even come to campus for camp. I mean, never mind a visit. You couldn't get him to come up here just to do a camp. He had zero interest in Mississippi State prior to Jeff Lebby. Lebby got to the point where you had national recruiting guys saying, I think Mississippi State's going to get him. And it doesn't look like it's going to end up that way, but sort of go back with what I said with Dowdell. If it doesn't work out for Hill at Alabama, we might be revisiting this conversation next year or the year after that, and you hope that those relationships have held up.
I don't want you to violate anything that's personal here, but I'm asking you this because I know he's somebody that you have a relationship as well. You were super fired up with Chad Bumpus, came back and joined Mississippi State's coaching staff, and you thought that that was a great decision for Mississippi State. It has paid dividends from a recruiting standpoint. What are his career aspirations? Do you know? And what I'm asking is,
a good question.
He has recruited really well, and that's one of the things that people look for. Is it to be a defensive coordinator and to continue to advance? I'm sorry, offensive coordinator. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah,
I would think so. I mean, I'm certain, I know Chad pretty well, and I would tend to think that he's a pretty driven guy. So he'd like to be a head coach at some point. I think everybody gets into coaching with the thought of being a head coach one day. So I don't know how that path works for him at Mississippi State. He's still so young, though. I mean, it's talking about he's in his early 30s. Yeah. So do you have to go to a small school and be an offensive coordinator there, and then come back? I don't know how that works out for him. So, but I'm certain that he has those kind of aspirations.
Yeah, and obviously I ask because he is extremely valuable, or appears to be, to what Mississippi State is doing, previous staff and current staff as well. And I'm just curious if that's a guy that I think the Bulldogs can hang on to.